I'm Emma. This is Kelly. We're just going to hang around for a few weeks for everybody to log in. Rach is just posting the link on our Facebook event. So if you're on the event, jump onto that link now and it will redirect you to us.
This is my
Okay.
dance.
We're on?
It's just, yes, it's up
Woohoo!
on the chat. We're good.
Excellent.
Hey,
so this is
everyone.
Rach. She's our tech girl for today. So she'll be answering all your questions and hopefully allowing this to run smoothly.
So if anything goes wrong, it's my fault.
Blame Rach. Sweet. Who have we got on?
Got a few watching. Say hi in the comments, guys.
Yeah, say
We'd
hello.
love to hear from you. And also, if anything pops up throughout the session, please, make a comment. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you and answer any questions that you might have throughout the session.
Yeah, we're going to answer questions as we go. So just as you think of them, type them in the comments. Rach will jump in. She'll either be answering your questions in the comment box or she'll jump in and we'll discuss them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'd rather do that than have them all at the end.
Got a few people coming on.
Woohoo!
Hi, Tilly, Ruth, Belinda, Carla, Alice. Thanks for joining in, guys.
Nice. Hi, guys. Thank you. We might get this started. I'll just get the screen up. Cool. Nice. I think we'll start. As I said, say hi as you jump on. If you've got any questions, please type them in. We'll answer them. So we are presenting tonight on women who run. So if you're a girl or a woman and you run, this is going to be relevant for you. Even if you're a male and you know a female who runs, this is going to be relevant for you. We are iMove Physio. We've done this live tonight in conjunction with Mums of the Shire, who is a wonderful group that we collaborate with. But we'll have people from all over jumping on, which is fantastic. So who are we? We are iMove Physiotherapy. We've got 4 locations in Sydney. In the south, we've got Miranda and Panania, and then over in the east and west, we've got Roselle and Clovelly. So I'm Emma. I'm a musculoskeletal physio at Miranda. I work with a variety of populations, women being one of them, active women in particular. So myself, I do CrossFit, I enjoy strength training, and I do a bit of running as well. I'm currently going to run UTA on Friday. I have a little bit of an injury that I'm battling, but attempting to run UTA on Friday, and I'm going to run my first half marathon this year as well. So I'm very much into running. I love it, and I love treating runners. I feel like you're all great people, fun people to work with.
My name is Kelly. I work at the Panania Clinic from iMove, and I'm a women's health physio. So I work with a lot of pregnant and postnatal ladies who are wanting to keep themselves active or might have a few niggles or injuries. I also work with a lot of women who are experiencing pelvic dysfunction. So that might be incontinence or prolapse throughout whatever they might be wanting to do. Outside of work, I am a gymnast, or I try to be a gymnast. I love doing upside down things and tumbling. And I also really enjoy getting out and into the gym as well, which is all fun and games.
Hey, I'm Rachel. I work down at Miranda with Emma. I'm also a musculoskeletal physio, so we deal with any aches and pains all over the body and also sporting injuries. Outside of work, I referee touch football, and then I do some running training and some gym training on the side of that to help me stay fit and strong so that I can hopefully not get injured.
Fantastic. So that's us. So why? We love treating runners, mostly because we're active ourselves. So we love running, we love being active, and we understand that it's not only beneficial for your body, but beneficial for your mind as well. Keeping that in mind, we try to keep everyone running. So whether you're suffering a niggle, we try to keep you running. We try not to rule you out. So wherever it's possible, we like to maintain your activity. Obviously, there's certain circumstances where that can't be the case, but for the most part, we do. As you can see there is a large percentage of runners that get injured per year. We believe that this can be largely prevented. So this is an area that we really feel we have a big impact in reducing that risk of injury, risk of injuries per year. Women and injuries. So at this point here, we would like everyone to type in the comment box whether you've had an injury. So if you've had an injury, type it in. We'll sort of bring it up and discuss it. While you're doing that, unfortunately, there are certain injuries that affect women more than men. So these can include bone injuries such as stress fractures, ligament and tendon injuries, runner's knee, which is a colloquial term for pain at the front of the knee, and ITB and glute med pain. ITB pain typically, well, it does affect the lateral side of the knee, so the outside of the knee, and glute med pain. So these aches and pains are quite common in runners and particularly in women. So who of you guys have had any of these sorts of injuries?
Tilly just said that she's had sore knees and some pain in her feet in the past.
Yep, very common. Knees are probably the biggest ones that we see, I reckon, knee pain in all runners. We're going to give you some good tips later on how you can reduce that pain while you're running. Anyone else? Anyone had any stress fractures before?
Jenny just said she's had a tibia stress fracture.
Yeah, there you go. Tibial stress fracture, again, quite a common one.
And Claudia just said she's had a stress fracture as well.
Nasty. So stress fractures are one of those injuries where unfortunately you do have to stop running. It's a fracture, so you really need to offload that bone to allow it to heal. You can reduce the risk of that happening. Obviously, we'll discuss that later on.
Got some people that have had labral tears and ITB issues and patellofemoral joint issues as well. So your patellofemoral pain, that's your runner's knee.
Yeah, I'm suffering from an ITB issue at the moment, so that's what I'm currently rehabbing.
And I've had shin splints in the past.
Yeah. So why do these injuries affect women more than men? This has to do with our hormones. So estrogen being the big one here. Estrogen is responsible for the deposit of calcium in our bones. So it's really important in the development and strength of our bones. Obviously, estrogen is present or not present in certain periods of our life. So early on, when you're starting to get your periods, you need those spikes in estrogen during ovulation to allow for the deposit of a healthy bones. And this is really important in this stage of your life when your bones are developing. So typically your development will peak at 18 years old, and then from there maintain and decrease. So in that middle period of your life, bone health has a lot to do with your physical condition. So if you're someone who exercises a lot, you need to be feeding your body with nutrients. If you're exercising or you're active more than what you're able to feed your body, there is the risk of amenorrhea occurring, which is an absence of period. And this can have a lot to do with your estrogen levels as well. So if your estrogen levels aren't spiking anymore, that can affect your bone health and put you at increased risk of bone injuries. And then, of course, later on in life, when your estrogen drops post-menopausal, this leaves us at greater risk of conditions such as osteoporosis, which affects the bones. Estrogen also has a bit to do with your joint or your ligament, tendon strength. So when estrogen spiking throughout ovulation, that can decrease the stiffness of your tendons, which then can increase the risk of overuse injuries in tendons. So yeah, a few reasons there. Obviously, men don't have these issues. It's more us females that have to watch out for those. Hormones during pregnancy as well can affect laxity of joints, which can also affect your overuse or risk of overuse injury. And then on top of that as well, you've got your anterior knee pain, your lateral hip pain. These all have to do with a combination of factors such as the structure of our joints and our bones, the amount of load we're putting through them, our technique, the sort of exercises we're doing. And this brings us to our training load tissue load capacity. So this is a lovely diagram. We'll give credit to Tom Goon here. He's a running physio and he's illustrated this really well. Basically, our tissues are able to tolerate a certain amount of load. And if that load exceeds the tissue's capacity, that's when we end up with injury. So the load that we put into our tissues can include the sort of training you're doing, how much of that you're doing, how intense it is, what terrain you're running on, if it's running that you're doing, and also other factors such as your work habits. So whether or not you have an active job or a sedentary job. So that's the loads you're putting into the tissue. The capacity of your tissue will depend on the strength of your muscles and bones, the control of your joints, the flexibility of the muscles, technique, previous injury, all of that. So if there is a misbalance here, that's when you'll end up with injury. What we're going to focus on tonight is strength. And so building strength is going to increase that capacity of the tissue, which means that you'll be able to exercise more without putting yourself at risk of injury. So strength is massive. If you're incorporating 1 to 2 sessions of strength in your week and you're a runner, you can reduce your risk of overuse injuries by up to 50%, which is huge. You can literally halve your risk of injury by adding in some strength sessions. Not only does it do that, but you can increase the economy of your running by up to 8%. So basically, just on those 2 points there, every runner should be incorporating some sort of strength into their weekly program. And how do we do that? We lift weights. So we lift heavy weights, we lift them slowly, and we do sets of low reps, really challenging sets. These exercises generally are big compound movements. So things like your squat, which this girl's doing here, and deadlifts, step ups, those sorts of things. So just big movements that build the strength of your lower limbs. We also try and incorporate at least 1 calf exercise into your strength program. This is because the calf muscles, in particular the soleus, have a huge impact on producing power during running. Your soleus takes on up to 8 times your body weight with each step you take. So you really need to be building the strength of your calves to reduce risk of injuries around the foot and the ankle. And then we try and incorporate a single leg movement, so a balance movement into your program. And this is important because obviously every time you take a step, you need that control through your hip and your knee and your ankle to allow for good biomechanics and reduce risk of injury. So we're going to take you through that now, rather than me just talking through this whole presentation. We're going to practice a single leg movement now, and I'm going to demo that. So this is a single leg sit to stand. So wherever you are now, if you're sitting down, we're going to work on doing a single leg sit to stand. So basically sitting down, lifting 1 leg up, and we're going to stand up. Ooh, that wasn't a very good example. And back down. So I hope everyone's trying this now, standing up, sitting down. And what we're concentrating on here when we do this is the control of this stance knee. So we don't want it dropping in as we stand up. And we obviously don't want to be relying on the other leg by putting that down. Now, I just want you guys to have a go at that now. See how many of those you can do in a row.
And let us know in the comments how many you can do.
Yeah, and let us know how you're going, whether or not you're able to control your knee. Typically, we want to be aiming for about 22. Is that the magic number?
Yeah,
Yes, roughly around 20 sit to stands. What is that to reduce your risk of injury?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for all you guys that have said that you've got patellofemoral pain issues or ITB issues, so your runner's knee, having good control in your single leg movements is really key in treating those conditions, because it's tightness / lack of control through that leg and that sort of knee falling in or hip drop that really contributes to those conditions. Because if you're getting that movement pattern when you're doing the sit to stand, it's probably happening when you're running as well, and that'll overload those structures around the knee.
And it's happening over and over again, depending how long you're running for. So let us know how you went with that. We'll jump back onto the presentation here. Cadence. Cadence is another little thing that we can change to your running that can have a huge impact on the loads going through your joints. So basically, cadence is the frequency of your stepping, so how many steps you take per minute. Now, there's no magic number with Cadence. Everybody's Cadence will be different. And what we do in the clinic is we get you onto the treadmill, you're running, and we calculate your cadence. Now, what we can do from there is we can increase your cadence by 5%, which will then decrease the loads going through your lower limb joints by up to 20%. So that's massive. A 5% increase in your cadence can decrease the loads through your knees by up to 20%. So I think it was Tilly before who mentioned she gets knee pain with running. This can just be one simple change that you can make in your running that will help reduce that pain. We're just going to do a quick example of that now. We use a metronome on our phones to cue cadence. I've just chosen a number here, 160, which sounds like this. That's how quick 160 sounds. So if you're at home now, just tap your feet on the ground. So that would be the frequency of your jogging. What we would do there is we would increase that by 5%, get you back on the treadie, and then get you to run that same pace, but with a slightly quicker cadence. Easy. So that's, yeah, sorry, Cal.
I was going to say, like, if you're not willing to listen to the sound of that for the whole time when you're running, there are Spotify playlists that you can find on Spotify that match the cadence that you're running. I know I've got one guy at the moment who loves to listen to the sound of the metronome.
Psychopath.
He does ultra marathons. I don't know. Anyway,
Psychopath.
but you can find playlists that do sort of match the rhythm if you're looking for something more interesting to listen to.
So really, really simple change you can make.
Yeah.
On to Cal next. She's the expert here.
So we're going to talk a little bit about incontinence because unfortunately it affects more women than we'd like to imagine, as particularly in our active population. I'm going to flip it back onto you guys, and I'm going to ask you, how common do you think incontinence is within us as women?
So do you think everybody experiences? Do you think nobody experiences? Maybe only 10%? What are your thoughts?
Get you to comment. I just want everyone to take a guess.
And have you experienced incontinence? You don't have to tell us that. That can be private.
But if you'd like to share, you are also more than welcome.
What do we got?
No one's put anything in yet. Come on, guys, have a guess.
Have a guess. I just want a couple of people to guess.
While we do that, we can watch this vid.
So we've got our colleague Tilly.
So 1 in 3 women will experience some kind of leaking or incontinence during running, coughing, sneezing, or jumping. And this is just a quick note to let you know that it is very common, but it is not normal. Even if you've had kids or anything like that, there is actually something that can be done about this. So if you or anyone that you know is experiencing some kind of leaking with doing any activities or anything at all, please reach out. We can definitely help you.
So how common is it, Cal?
So 1 in 3 women will experience incontinence at some point. So it is super duper common. We do not talk about this enough. I reckon if you all ask your friends, your mum, your sister, anybody, you will find that a lot of you will have incontinence, or you'll know someone else who has experienced incontinence. Now, the most type of incontinence that I see in the clinic is a type of incontinence called stress urinary incontinence, which is essentially the leaking that you get with activities such as running, jumping, skipping, hopping, and then even things like laughing, coughing, and sneezing. Now, there are a variety of ways, or there are a variety of things that can make it happen or be the cause of it happening. And some of these include your pelvic floor, so your pelvic floor muscles being really weak, or lacking in coordination. And then it can also be due to other sorts of structural damage as well.
On to the next one. So how can we run with incontinence?
So this is where if you're experiencing incontinence with running, it's a really great idea to come in and see one of our women's health physiotherapists for an assessment. And from there, we can give you, a program just for you. We'll usually have a look at your pelvic floor. And if it is weak or needing some control and coordination, we'll start there. Once we've gotten you well versed in being able to turn on your pelvic floor, turn it on quickly, and then make it really strong, we'll have a look at putting it into something more functional. And this is where the exercises that Emma talked about before are really, really nice ways to start. So we'll get you to turn on your pelvic floor with your calf raises, with your single leg sit to stand or your squat. And then we'll start to increase the impact and the load. So we'll start introducing your pelvic floor with things like jumping, hopping, skipping, and then running. Now, for some women, a Pessary device may be the way to go. Now, a Pessary device is a really, really nice little support device that is non-invasive that you essentially put into your vagina that helps to create a little backstop to stop you from leaking while you're running. So it's a really important thing for some women to use.
Where do you get them from?
So the ones that you use for incontinence, you can actually buy them over the counter, but obviously you want to see your women's health physiotherapist, so one of us, before you go and prescribe yourself one, because it may not be necessary for you.
Nice. So next topic, during pregnancy.
So I'm going to throw the questions back to you guys again. Do you think that it's safe to run, and can you run throughout your pregnancy journey?
Just got that quick delay, so we'll just to give it a few
Yes.
seconds.
How many of you have ran during your pregnancy, or how many of you stopped?
And then, like, also, if for those of you who are considering becoming pregnant, would you like to run? Woohoo, got a couple of yeses.
Yeah, the
there.
yeses have it so far.
Yes. And did you guys run during your pregnancy, and how did you find it? Nice. What do we got? Yes,
Everyone's
yes.
keen on running here.
Running, yes.
Yeah.
Funny.
Nothing stopping us. Not
Chosen
even
the right
creating
crowd.
another
Oh,
year.
excellent. So, yes, you are able to run with your pregnancy, but you want to check in with your GP, your specialist, and a women's health physiotherapist to make sure that running is the right exercise for you. Okay. Now, in terms of things that you need to be thinking about during your pregnancy while you're running is, as Emma said earlier on, your joints are going to be more lax because you need to have more space for your bub to grow. So when your ligaments are more lax, you are slightly more prone to injury because everything's moving a little bit more than what it's used to. In terms of intensity of exercise and running throughout your pregnancy, the general guidelines say that you should be doing a moderate level of intensity from around 150 to 300 minutes of exercise per week. Should be about a good mix of strength and aerobic exercise, and it should be on that somewhat hard scale. So you should have an increased heart rate, increased breathing, but you should still be able to chat and talk. Now, in terms of trimesters, there are 3 trimesters, obviously. First trimester, you may experience some morning sickness. I'm sure some of you have experienced morning sickness before, and it's really hard to get yourself doing exercise when you are experiencing morning sickness. So you want to take it easy through this time and do what you can. In the second and third trimester, you're going to get a bigger bump. And so, of course, your loads are going to change as you get bigger. And this is where you really need to listen to your body in terms of how much you're actually able to do. You might find that you're unable to do as much as you were, as intense as you were, as far or as fast as you were. And then you may even need to start thinking about the terrain that you're running on. So you may need to go for a flatter surface or a more gentle surface as well. So all things to think about, but don't be too hard on yourself through this period. You want to feel good about running. You want to feel good about doing your exercise, and you don't want to push yourself too hard.
And you're supporting a baby, well, you're growing a baby, so you need to support your body in doing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Your goals will definitely change.
Mm-hmm.
So once you've had your baby, how long will it take to get back to running? What do you guys think?
I love asking questions. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
How long do you think it'll take for you to get back to running?
6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years? How long did it take you guys? Did you guys start straight away, or did you wait? What kind of running were you doing at the time? Kel reckons that she'll be running away from her baby.
I will be running away from my baby as fast as I can.
What do you guys think?
So,
Got a few that waited, someone waited 4 months, Claudia waited 8 weeks, another 4 months. Someone, Margarita said that it's personal depending on the delivery, which is very true.
Yes.
Yeah. You can experience different trauma through your delivery, and it's different for C-sections and natural births. 12 weeks, that came from Jenny. So a bit of a range there. Seems like it's anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks, really, that's coming through on the comments.
yeah, awesome.
What do you think, Cal?
So I guess that first little bit after you've given birth, 0 to 6 weeks, you really want to give your body a rest. You've just gone through giving birth. You've just produced a little one. You want to give your body the time it deserves to recover. At the 6-week marks, it's when we recommend to come in to see a women's health physiotherapist for your 6-week check. Now, obviously, it doesn't have to be exactly at 6 weeks. It can be sort of, a few weeks before or after, but it's whenever you feel comfortable to. Now, in that 6-week check, we'll have a chat to you about your body, about your birthing story, about your pregnancy journey. And then from there, we can talk to you about your goals and how to get you back to running. And we'll slowly start to help you to get back to where you need to be. This might include some pelvic floor training. It might include some really gentle movements right through to bigger movements and movements with more impact. And then from 12 weeks onward, this is when we start to bring you back to increasing your load and returning back to running. Now, as some of you have already mentioned, it does really just depend on you, your body, your story, okay? So it can be really, really quick for some people, and it might not follow this exact, time frame. And some of you might take a long, long time, and that's just up to you and how you're feeling and your progress.
So what does this look like?
So as I said a little bit earlier, we'll start off with some really gentle exercise. We'll make sure that your pelvic floor is doing the right thing, that it can turn on, and we can start to strengthen it. We'll work on your tummy muscles, your core, and the way that you breathe and the way you load through your body. And then we'll start going, okay, can we put that into a movement? So much like we talked about before, we'll start looking at pelvic floor with squats, pelvic floor with different movements, and then we'll start looking at jumping, hopping, skipping, and running.
Yeah, so we'll do a bit of a demo of this now. Cal, take us through pelvic floor training.
So I'm going to get everybody to close your eyes, okay? Take a seat, close your eyes, okay? Now, what I want you to imagine is that you're trying to pull up or turn on your pelvic floor, pulling up, and imagining that you're trying to stop the flow of urine. And then I want you to relax that pelvic floor back down. Now, what I want you to do, after you've practiced that a couple of times, up and back down, is I want you to take a nice deep breath, breathe in. And then as you breathe out, I want you to pull up through your pelvic floor and then relax. I want you to try that a couple of times. So breathing in, breathing out, pulling up through your pelvic floor, and then relax.
How do you pull up through your pelvic floor?
So there are a couple of cues that we can go through, okay? So you want to try and squeeze in and then lift up as if you're trying to stop the flow of urine when you're sitting in the toilet, okay? Some people like to use the pulling up a blueberry and then relaxing. And if you're someone who uses a tampon or has used a tampon before, you can imagine that you're sort of squeezing and lifting a tampon up, okay? All really great cues if the stopping the flow of urine isn't something that resonates with you.
So once we can activate it in a static position, then what's next?
So what we want to start thinking about is, can we turn it on, leave it on, and do a little squat with it?
So let's do a demo.
So I'm going to get you to turn on your pelvic floor, and then I want you to squat and then come back up. Relax. Turn on your pelvic floor, squat, and then come back up. Now you can play around with this. You can make your squat really deep. You can make it a pause at the bottom and come back up, okay? Depending on how you're feeling with your pelvic floor and how long it can turn on for, okay? Now, if you are really good at this, if you're super duper good, what you can do is you can turn on your pelvic floor and you can turn it into a little bit of a jump.
So switch on, jump, and then relax.
Relax. Exactly.
Nice.
Now, if you are having trouble with any of these stages, turning on your pelvic floor, doing it with a squat or doing it with a jump, come in and see one of our women's health physiotherapists, and we would love to help you.
Yeah, and off the back of that, we should mention, we are offering everyone who's on the live tonight a gap-free assessment. So a gap-free run assessment or women's health assessment. That basically just means that you swipe your health fund and you don't pay anything extra. So if you're someone who's trying to get back to running after pregnancy, you want to get into running and you're planning on falling pregnant, or if you're into running, you're a woman and you've got some niggles, or if you don't have niggles, you can come in for your gap-free assessment.
I've posted that link in the comments for you guys. I'll post it to the event page as well.
Nice. Next. So basically, just to summarize tonight's presentation, basically, number one, see your physio. So whether that's a women's health physio for specific pelvic floor issues, or just a physio who enjoys seeing women, musculoskeletal issues, if you've got niggles, come and see us. You need your assessment, whether you're wanting to get into running first, like before pregnancy, you need your 6-week check.
Even if you're just curious, curious to know what your body can do and where to go next.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We encourage people to come in for run assessments, even if you don't have niggles, because we can do so much to reduce your risk of injury. Everything we covered tonight, we can make those small changes so that you don't have to suffer from injury.
And we can also make you run faster.
Exactly.
That's what everyone wants.
So 1, see your physio. 2, do strength. So whether that's your strength training in the gym to increase your strength and reduce your risk of injury, increase the strength of your pelvic floor if you're experiencing incontinence, or both of them if you've just had a baby and you need to strengthen both. It should be a part of everybody's program. And then number 3, it takes time and it can be different for everyone. So we really do stress that we've given you some general time frames and general guidance for tonight, but everybody's different. So really, again, back to number 1, you need to come and see your physio to get those specific timeframes and the individualized program for your condition. Do you guys have anything to add there?
If you have any questions, feel free to ask them, put them in the comments.
Has there been any good ones, Rach?
Just a lot of people talking about their experience returning to running or running during pregnancy, which has been pretty cool through the comments.
Yeah,
been trying to reply to everyone as best I can.
Nice.
As far as injuries go, we had a couple of people with plantar fasciitis as well. I think that's the only one that came up that we didn't really touch on back at the start. Another common running injury, that one.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for everyone for contributing. Was there any worth bringing up?
Liza has just asked us a question. What kind of volume and frequency of exercise do you tend to prescribe? And is it best to do these in one bout or small bouts distributed throughout the day?
This is an interesting question because I think it really depends. I'm going to say it really depends on you and your body and where you're at the time. So it's really hard to answer that. I will generally get, if you're a mum, you're just going to do them whenever you like because you're just going to need to do them within whatever time frame you have. And I know that there are some mums here that will completely understand that. So we generally try and work with you, and then we'll try and work with, okay, how much can you actually do at the time, number 1. So if you can only hold your pelvic floor for 5 seconds 10 times, then we'll get you to do 5 seconds 10 times, and then we'll sort of put it into a bit of a functional perspective. And that's where it gets really interesting with trying to put it into your running program.
In terms of strength training, we generally, as I mentioned before, we would recommend 1 to 2 strength sessions per week. These sessions tend to focus on your heavier lifts, so generally 3 to 4 sets of about 8 to 10 reps. Yeah. And the weight specifically will depend on the person. So again, it is good to come in, get your strength assessed. We can prescribe you an appropriate program and then show you how to develop that.
I've got a couple more questions I think would be really great to answer. Alice asked, she's thinking about running with a pram. Any considerations around running and risk of injuries running with a pram?
Cool. So From experience, I know that some of the women that I've had who come in who run with prams have, upper body injuries, just because, or tightnesses around your shoulder and your neck and your upper back, just because you're trying to run like this with a big load in front of you. So that's where I'll usually note. So I guess you want to try and minimize the amount of weight that you got in your pram, number one, and then also just like consider how you are running with the pram. So that's where it's really nice to have a chat to these girls in terms of running with your pram and seeing where you can improve your posture when you're running and the way that you do run.
So focusing on a relaxed upper body posture, perhaps not too much weight going through the handles of the pram, just light hands.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one more. Jenny's asked if your pelvic floor is weaker while you're breastfeeding. I think that's one for you, Kel.
So it can be, but if you're breastfeeding, then you've probably just given birth, or within the first year of giving birth as well. So it's sort of expected that you might have a weaker pelvic floor just after you've given birth, and then it really just depends on whether you've got your period back while you're breastfeeding or whether you haven't, as to whether it might be returning back to normal strength or not as well.
So breastfeeding can affect the hormones and strength. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the hormones can play a role into your ligament laxity as well still. So if you're breastfeeding, you will have slightly laxer ligaments than if you're not, but that's not an issue long term, and there's still things that can be done for any leakage or any pain that you're suffering.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's all. Feel free to contact us. So if you've got questions that you're perhaps not comfortable posting, or you didn't have time to post, please feel free to reach out. We've got an Instagram and a Facebook that has loads of information on it. You can contact us via message on that. You can call us, stick your head in the clinic door. We love visitors, and come and have a chat to us. We're more than happy to answer your questions. We are going to post links to our Instagram, to our Facebook, and to our website on the chat. So please feel free to check them out. We're going to post the unique booking link again. So just for those who missed that before, we are offering no gap assessments for everyone here tonight. So that's basically swipe your health fund. You don't have to pay a gap. And that gets you a run assessment on the treadmill or a women's health assessment. So basically everyone who's on tonight, click on that link, book your assessment now. You'll all be able to get something out of that.
And jump on and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We post lots of fun stuff on there, lots of information, and we're getting on the reels. So they're a bit of a laugh.
Feel free to laugh at us.
Yeah, we laugh at ourselves, so everything's great there.
Wonderful. So what we're going to do now is we're going to post the link again. So on the chat, we are just going to close the screen down, mute. We'll give you guys an opportunity to click on that link, book your session in, and yeah, that'll be it for us for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. It was really fun. Thank you for being so interactive. We look forward to doing this again. Nice.